Hi everybody, I'm Sheila Hamisi and welcome. I just want to welcome everybody. Okay, so since I've been away for a while, it feels good to be back. It feels good to do what you love. It feels good to be who you love. It feels good to share what you love doing and what you know it's interesting doing out there. So, to all my listeners and my friends and families, I just want to tell you that there's no better time. The time is always now or right now. So, you don't have to wait to do something or to learn to do something that you might love or have interest in. So every time you are out there shopping or doing your usual, you should always think of if it's benefiting you, if it's making you laugh, if it's making you smile. It all accounts to something. You have to do something that accounts to something else that gives you that broad smile. And there's nothing as beautiful as wearing a smile. You can wear all types of clothes: Gucci, Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton. You can wear what do we call them again? Prada, Fashion Nova. But if you wear all those and you don't wear a smile, you look terrible in them. Yeah, so you have to try and do something that just makes you happy, makes you smile genuinely, and you don't have to fake it or pretend that you're happy. Because one thing I know or I've learned from my own experience is that pretense is the worst thing you can ever wish for yourself. Pretense is the worst disease you can ever want to have. It's worse than depression because you never live your true self. You never wake up to being you. You're just always someone different. You're the ideal self and the true you. So you're not living the image of you. The person that you wish you were. Maybe you wished you were a pop star, so you're trying to live like a pop star, but you're not. When you go back in the house, you are you and you're yourself, and you're devastated, and it's the worst feeling ever. So today I just want to welcome you guys again. Sorry for taking long, but I did this because I needed to get things straight in my life first. I was going through a difficult patch. I was sick, very, very sick. I don't remember the last time I was happy. For the past 2 weeks, I was constantly sick. I was not okay, my health-wise, and it's not about the disease that has the outbreak right now. I had some stomach issues, and I just had to take care of that, and it took a while. By the way, it took a while, and I'm glad I'm back. And with all that being said, so let's get to it. Let's get to that, because we're not going to talk about my we're not going to talk about my stomach issues. So let's get to it. So today we're going to talk about I don't want to bring so much raw topics today. So today we're going to talk about the self, you, me, and the other person, and it all equates to you. I can look at you and say, you are this kind of person, I'm this kind of person, but it all equates to one person. Yeah, so I just want to let everyone know out there, I would like you to live your life the way you always wanted to live it, whichever way that is. You don't have to hide in the closets. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to fake. You have to be yourself for as long as you live in this world, because there's nothing as beautiful as living your true self. And one thing that the self knows is that we all have our ups and downs, you know, and in as much as it's difficult to relate to, but we all go through things that we wish they never happened to us. And sometimes we even say, like, I wish this never happens to my worst enemy. And obviously most people think that their worst enemies are their next ex-girlfriend, their next ex's lovers or partners. So so you have to relate with that. You know, we have all our ups and downs, and at some point these are just life lessons. These are just things that teach us about tomorrow, and things that are eye-openers in our lives. So I believe that if you have lived your lowest life, take me as example. I've lived my lowest life. I've done it all. I've tried it all. I've been there. You know, most people can meet me in person and they'll be like, Sheila, you know, you seem like someone who's self-reserved. You seem like someone who was raised well. I mean, you probably can't be going through something. And I'm like, you know nothing about me, because I know me and I know what I've been through. And it's difficult to relate out here, but everybody has their own life lessons. Everybody has their own ups and downs, and we all have to use our downs to learn from them, and we all have to use our ups to humble us, because most people get this elevation and they are elevated, and all of a sudden, you know what? They feel mighty, they feel bigger, they feel greater than the next human. That's not good. That's like trying to devote your humanity, you know. We have to learn to be the people that we would want our kids to be. That's one thing I taught myself. I wouldn't want my daughter to grow up and be something I never wanted to be myself, you know. You always want your generation to be greater than you. That's what God gives us as parents. He gives us the challenge to make our kids, or set a pace for our kids to be greater. Like when you have your dad, he was a singer, let's say, and he didn't finish school. He dropped out because of money. And now he has the money, you know, he's famous. You have to use that money to be a great person, greater than your father, greater achievements, so that you can set a pace for your children. And as much as it never happens as we all want, but that's how life is, you know. I once read a quote. I'm not sure if it's the ideal one, but, you know, it said, parents are the ones creating the future world for their generation. So if I am here, I am not a person who is morally right, or whatever I'm doing is not even helpful to my own society. Your society is what you're building around you. It does not mean that you have to go back to your village to have a society. You have to go back to your village and learn how to be, you know, something. Society starts with where you are, where you're living, who you're relating to at work, back at home, your neighbors, when you go to church, or when you go to your religious places to worship. when you go to fetch water somewhere, when you go to buy food, when you go to the grocery store, when you go to the supermarket. That's your society. You have to impact in some way to help your kids, or to give to build a greater future for them. So most of us can think that this is what do we call it? This is a challenge. This is, most parents, most that I've met, always feel like, the kids should come and make their own way, but that's the problem. The parents make the way for the kids, then they set the pace. It doesn't matter if you had 4 billion and you're 65 years old and you're like, I'm not giving this money to any of my kids. That's fine, that's your choice. But at least you've given them the path to have their own money. You've taken them to the best schools that you can afford with your own money. You've tried to help them connect out there. You've tried to help them learn the basics of life and survival, because most children grow up and they don't know anything about this, And it becomes something that's disgusting sometimes. You're like, I don't want to help my kids. I don't want to give my kids some food on a silvery platter, sorry. But you're not even hating that path for them. That's worse. That's like a parent who a deadbeat, If you're not giving your children your inheritance, at least give them a path. If you give them a path and they don't want it or they don't appreciate it, don't give them your wealth. Because a path is more important than the money. Because if they earn their own money, they'll know, or they'll learn how to utilize it. But if you give it to them, you give them the money, you give them the path, you'll be destroying them. It's like raising a kid without a rod. Yeah, most kids are raised like that out here. So I just like to say, it's upon us to set paces, to live lives, to be who we are, so that we can create a better tomorrow for our kids, because our kids see us as the mirrors of tomorrow. So we have to do our best, guys, and try our level best to be who we are, to have healthy children. Try our level best to not pretend, because that's what our children will do tomorrow. To try our best to live your own self. Do not live the image of you. Live your ideal self. Live the ideal self, not the ideal image. So let's try our best as parents, as guardians, as adoptive parents also, as guiders. As long as you're taking a role to make someone grow, you have to keep some things very important at heart and always in your mind. Thank you. We'll meet again. Bye-bye.